God, that hypersleep was good, guys. But, hey, guys, wake up. What are you doing? We have a show to do.
5 more minutes.
Dude, you have morning wood.
Oh, shit, I do have morning wood.
After hypersleep, that's going to be crazy.
Wow, Jamie, you're barely wearing anything.
Well, this is how you're dressed, right? You have to strip down to your underwear.
I guess.
This is how we dress in 1980s version of the future.
Oh, yeah. Man, I wish we really knew what the future would look like. We'd look cooler right now. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Skeleton Crew show number 133? I'm not even sure we are, but because we're in outer space, we're a little delirious, guys. We just woke up from hyper sleep. It's been very long. I can't even keep track, so I'm a little disoriented. All I know is that today is Alien Day. It is 426.
LV-426 is the planet name.
Right, and that's the planet we're doing this from. We're not in the dungeon right now. We are actually on the Nostromo on that planet because we just wanted to do this right. That's the only way you can review Alien, guys. Well, since you woke me up, let's get right to this bad boy. Alien was released in 1979, the year I was born. Can you believe that? The year I was born. Amazing.
Damn. That's a great fucking movie to have for the year that you're born, dude. That's
yeah,
great.
right?
I guess you did not see it in the theater then?
No, I was still in my mother's chest. I didn't burst out yet.
When did you guys see this movie first?
Last week.
Last week? Really? How about you, Jamie?
I was very young. I did not see it in the theater, but it wasn't too far behind that because when I was a kid, this is one of the movies that we had on DiscoVision. Yeah, I think I've talked about it before. The laser displayer where you had to, it was in a plastic case and you put it in, and then halfway through the movie you had to flip it over and put it back in.
Disco Stew loves aliens too.
So I would say it was probably 80, 81 when I first saw this movie, and
Oh, wow. Okay.
was immediately traumatized to the point where I could not eat spaghetti for a very long time.
I like when he eats it and it hangs from his mouth.
I was convinced that we were filled with milk.
Oh my God.
Dude, Jamie, that is the thing that bugged me out more than anything. More than anything was that fucking android milk, dude. I'm all set. I'm good.
Yeah, I'd rather have the orange goop in me like in Halloween 3.
But yeah, exactly. Dude, that's what I remember, though. Jamie, you talked about being scarred and being traumatized. Like, that's what I remember from Alien, is that fucking milk shit. Oh, you can taste it. Oh, good.
Yeah. I would probably drink my own blood, though.
Yeah.
Alien. I mean, there are so many things to talk about before even diving right into the movie. I mean, there's so many interesting things to talk about in terms of what went into making this movie. It was written by a guy we all love, Dan O'Bannon, and he was obviously famous for our theme songs movie, Return of the Living Dead. He wrote Total Recall. So, we just love him. He's great. The movie went through like 8 rewrites from Walter Hill, and they were all like terrible and just going off. But the only thing that Walter Hill added to the movie that made it better was the robot head knocked off.
Yep.
That was like the one thing he did that made it better. But other than that, it was all bad, and Dan O'Bannon had the right idea to begin with.
I can't imagine, though, trying to get that right. Like, you have a movie called Alien, and it's like, where do you even start with that? Like, what is it, Because, like, that's why when I first heard of this movie, I was going in, I was like, okay, it's a sci-fi movie, and I'm thinking in terms like that. But I was also getting into horror at the exact same time. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, shit, no, wait, this is not only horror, but this is, like, some of the best fucking horror out there,
Well, speaking of that, it's known as a, obviously like a sci-fi kind of thing because it's science fiction, obviously. But, the thing that gives it the horror element is that the biggest influence one of the bigger influences for Ridley Scott when he directed this, obviously, and his influence was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yes, thank you, Ridley Scott rules.
Yeah, that's his big thing, and the other horrific element comes from the artwork of Giger. He is a guy who paints this crazy dark imagery. It just seems so evil and dark and sexual, and it's like a deviant type artistry. And he made this book called the Necronomicon. In it is basically all the artwork that led to everything you see regarding the alien, the way the alien looked was in that book.
Mm-hmm.
They actually hired the guy who drew these pictures to come in and then sculpt most of it out.
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
No, well, dude, here's the thing. The design of that is so fucking tight, but at the same time, you have to do that just right, with that spit coming out, the fucking venom shit, you have to nail it on both fucking ends, you know what I mean? You can have a concept and then try and, good luck with that, have fun with that, buddy, and you have to bring that to life, so, yeah, man, that sounds fucking badass.
Well, Jamie, what do you think of the juxtaposition between the artwork of Giger and the just overall design of all the human aspects of the movie? For example, the spaceship itself that the humans are on, the spacesuits, all the mechanics, the way they all work and stuff. How do you feel the contrast works for this movie?
I think it works beautifully. If you look at the spacecraft itself, as well as the suits that they're wearing, it's all very sanitized. I don't know. It's like when you picture the future, you picture either one of two things. Everything is either very sanitized looking, or everything is very nasty looking, depending on which form of the future you want to head to. And this one, it's all pristine, and then you have the alien itself, which is all dark and it's
gritty but sleek.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. It's very sleek and almost has an oily sheen to it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is
you can't beat KY jelly.
An amazing contrast between the two. Yeah, no kidding. He's just slobbering everywhere. Whereas later in this...
Want to have a good laugh? And the guy who actually applied the KY jelly to the alien to make him dripping wet and all that was actually a gay guy. So he was like, more KY all around. I'm sorry, what were you saying, though?
Later in the series, when we are exposed to the environment of the aliens themselves... you can definitely see the difference there because his work has a very biomechanical feel to it. So it looks like gears but fleshy gears.
Right. And bones.
Yeah. So you can, the disruption that this creature causes, not only in what it does and what it causes, but just in the look of the surrounding and the film itself, if that makes any sense. There's definitely a contrast.
Yeah, and then you add in the old, late 70s, early 80s computers too, and it just adds that one level of awe. You know what I mean, though? Because yeah, right. Does not compute exactly, and all that stuff is so great. Kind of, when that guy's sitting in the room talking to the computer, little 2001-ish. That's I got that vibe from it.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, with Mother, whenever you're talking to Mother, it's kind of right up there with
talking to Hal.
Yes, yeah.
The whole time I that countdown sequence, I kept thinking of Spaceballs. The end of Spaceballs when they're all fucking running around in the pods. Oh, dude, that movie's so stupid.
Yeah, Mother's the name of the central drive computer for the Nostromo. What is it? I am with names. Nostromus, the name is
Nostromo. I think you're trying to confuse it with Nostradamus.
This isn't Nostradamus.
I think he predicted this is going to be a terrible review. Okay.
That was his last album. Ew.
His last prediction. And the skeleton crew alien reviews gonna suck. Goodbye. So Giger he had a lot of sexual condensations, like when they walk into.
Yes, he did.
Like, it looks like they're walking into giant vaginas, and like a lot of the things are very penis-like. Not crazy in any way. It ain't like a cover of The Little Mermaid or anything. There are some, like, things here and there, but like even everything being wet and stuff. A lot of people would say that nothing goes on in Alien for the first like 45 minutes, but the 30-minute mark, they see the eggs and stuff, and I know that the chest burst scene doesn't take place till 55 minutes. A lot of people view that as when the movie kicks off, but in reality, you can be totally engulfed in every minute of this movie, the whole first, because it's like 2 hours, the theatrical. You could literally just gawk at everything that's there. You could just stare at the inside of that spaceship, like that whole opening scene when they're just panning through and they're showing you the whole ship when it's empty and quiet and asleep, and everyone's in hypersleep like we just were. Like that, you could just stare at that and just be marveled at it. Like the people sat there and put this all. I couldn't even think of what to put in the room. It'd be like look like my old apartment. Like I couldn't even think of what to put in there. And these guys created this whole thing, and it all looks like it works and functions. It all looks legit. That's so cool,
I like that we start out so quiet.
Yeah, because you're in outer space.
It just sort of, and it kind of eases you into it, so there's sort of a lull in the beginning, and you just start out taking a little tour and everything's really quiet. I like that part. For me, I think the horror sets in really early on, like way before we get to the chest burster scene. The first big moment for me is when we first encounter the egg and Kane goes to that. I mean, I think that is one of the best jump scares in horror, and it's terrifying, that whole sequence.
It is. So you could just take in all that, but even like I'm saying, even before that, like I'm thinking, like even when you see that alien spaceship, is that not the eeriest looking thing? Like when they view it with their eyes, it's obviously clear and nice, but then you see it through Ash's eyes or whatever, or something, like he's looking at a computer screen, and that filter of like dirtiness makes it like 100 times more eerie and scary. Just the view, the angle, the distance of it, the darkness of it, that is scary shit, dude. And like you have to like be engulfed in it.
Dude, Alex, I'm glad you said that. Going from like right for the beginning, because like when you look at it, there are parts that could be like conceived as boring. Like there's sections of the movie where not a lot happens to move the plot forward and all that. But between the look, Ridley Scott's direction, the look of this movie, like you were just saying, just the feel of it, that and the characters, it's hands down like such an easy watch with not a lot happening. Like I can watch this from the first frame, like you guys said, and for me too, it's always getting into the world. Like with a movie like this, kind of learning the rules. Like, okay, this is their version of the future. Okay, this is how this is gonna kind of play out. Oh, I like those computers in it. So I always thought that was a strong point. That in itself can move you forward, but then you got the good characters, and it's an easy watch without a lot happening in some instances.
I agree with that completely. I don't ever get bored watching this film for even a second. And I think if anyone does, then they seriously suffer ADD. I can't. It's just, there's so much to take in here. Even the part, one of my favorite sequences is a very quiet sequence in a way, but it also is kind of building dread and curiosity, is when they're doing the exploration in the beginning, and you first see the engineer, which is just this, it's this colossal creature, and there's so much that is brought up in your head, and like so many questions that you have are never going to fully be answered. But, who is this? What, I mean, you can kind of draw some conclusions.
Oh, the space jockey?
So, did I say engineer? I meant to say the
gotcha.
what happened to this creature? How did this unfold? And it's just the questions alone keep.
It cries for Prometheus.
We're gonna find out in about a month. So just hold on.
Right, exactly.
See, I thought Prometheus. See, I didn't see Prometheus yet, and Ridley Scott said he always wanted to go and make like the fifth Alien or whatever, and go back and tell the story of that, that space jockey. I mean, just looking at him alone and this whole thing, like there's so much. It begs so many answers, and I didn't see Prometheus yet, so I assumed that you did learn. I guess you didn't. So I guess this new one is where you're going to learn that, the Covenant or whatever it's called.
Prometheus is a prequel, but it's like a prequel to this prequel that's going to be a prequel to this movie. And I think since Prometheus did well and it was received pretty well by most fans,
it looked amazing.
It did.
It was gorgeous. It was a beautiful, beautiful film, and I think that's what everyone is in agreement with, is that the film itself is stunning, but it was just a disappointment overall.
Yep.
Well, that makes sense with him. I mean, Ridley Scott, his big thing before Alien was a movie called The Duelist, and it wasn't a particularly good movie, but it was directed so amazingly, and the vision he had and the way he sees things and the way that he conveys things is just incredible. I mean, this guy literally just did that movie and like commercials in England, and just based off of that stuff, they knew that he was the right guy. And this movie could have went wrong so many ways. Alien could have been a Roger Corman movie. Like that's what it was. That's what it was set up to be. That's what it was originally going to be. They had no idea that they'd get big interest in this. And they actually, it's funny because when Ridley Scott, was hired, he spent 3.5 weeks working on storyboards, because he's really big on storyboards. If people know what that is, it looks like a comic book sort of. It like just shows each scene, he draws them out and shows how it's all going to play out. And when the studio,
shots,
the shots, So when the studio, and he does very detailed ones. And when the studio saw it, it literally doubled the budget. It went from $4.2 million budget to $8.4. Once they saw that, they were like, okay, you know what? Let's make this. We're going to go big. This is going to be an A-list movie. This isn't going to be a Roger Corman film. And it's all thanks to Ridley Scott. And, like we said, the writer, Dan O'Bannon, and the executive producer, Ron Shusett, like those two guys, this all came from those three minds. Because Ron is the one who said one of the big things that they had to do with this movie is how do we get the alien on the spaceship? And that was a big thing. Like, do we just have him crawl into one of the fucking ducts or something? Or, it could have went wrong, or not wrong, just uneventful in so many ways. And believe it or not, Ron Shusett is the one who came up with the chest buster scene, literally. When they were like pushing the script around and trying to get someone to, make this movie, everybody said, just read it. And there's a scene in this movie where this alone is going to make the movie. And every time everybody read the script, they're like, yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah, this has to be made. And it just went through all that kind of stuff. But, deals still fell through and stuff. But this movie, the thing that really pushed it and gave a green light to it was the success of Star Wars. Because people weren't really... They were sort of lukewarm about sci-fi at the time. 2001 was there, but, it just wasn't... it's almost like when you compare... I never mind, I'm not going to do it. I'm not saying it. Okay. But I was going to say two movies that one did something, but it didn't kickstart the thing, but
right.
Star Wars is why we're watching Alien.
Well, I got a question. I guess, what year, Jamie, you might know, what year was Blade Runner made?
82, I want to say.
Okay, so you think that fucking paved the way for that? Because that's fucking...
I actually am glad you brought that up too, because I was going to myself when he was talking about the aesthetics and Ridley Scott's vision and everything. Tie that back to what I said in the beginning about how you can have two different views of the future, depending on which direction you want to go in. And on one end, he did the Alien aesthetic, and then if you look at Blade Runner, it's completely different.
Completely. Yep.
And it has this amazing noir feel to it that is just, but futuristic at the same time. And I love that world. It's another amazing world. So this, he's not like one note,
Right.
he's varied in where he can go. And I think that also is the hallmark of an excellent filmmaker. But yeah, I want to say Blade Runner was 82.
Right. But I will say this too, probably, though. I'd say the success of this movie definitely had something to do with them, giving him free reign to do what he wanted for Blade Runner. Because I know Blade Runner is definitely an out there concept, but to trust a director to just fucking run with that shit, I mean, I think he proved himself. If I'm looking at the time, if he made that, 3 years before, I would assume that had a little something to do with it.
Yeah, after somebody puts this movie together, you're like, okay, you can do whatever you want, dude. It's like, but like I said, we have to credit a lot of people, like even like Giger, the guy who did all the art for the Alien and the spaceships and everything for the Alien. He also designed the eggs. He designed the face hugger, the chest burster. I mean, this guy, it's great that they went to one guy for all of it because it's very fluid. Everything goes together because it came from the same mind.
All cohesive.
It's yeah, right. That's actually the word I was looking for. Not fluid, like cohesive.
That works too.
Yeah,
yeah, that works.
Yeah, I think that's a synonym. But yeah, like that's the beauty of it, and the beauty of the other end of it. And I'm sorry, I don't know the guy's name who designed all the humanoid or humanistic spaceships and stuff. I only know the guy who did the alien stuff, but keeping him to do all that is great because now everything is very cohesive. And just so anybody, if they want to know, the original name of the alien, the xenomorph, was Necronomicon number 4, and it was drawn in 1976. So just 3 years, well, actually 2 years before this was made, because they were actually shooting it in 78. So that's the name of it. There were like, it was trying for the cast to film this movie. Like that girl who played Lambert, as annoying and gripey as she is in this movie, she was like that in real life. I mean, she complained about everything. Everything was a problem for her. She was fucking miserable.
God. Her reaction during that scene is hilarious to me. Victoria Cartwright, that's her name.
Yep.
Who was also in Invasion of the Body Snatchers with Donald Sutherland, the remake that was done.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Which, another alien form. Another film I think you can probably credit it being made, or at least getting some foothold to this film, is The Thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Even though that film was initially received poorly, I mean, it did shit at the box office.
But there was a reason for it, wasn't there? Didn't something else come out that week? Was kind of distracted.
Well, it also was panned by critics. I mean, critics slammed that movie. And which is amazing now because it is on so many lists as the #1 horror film ever made. Which is just, it's so funny now because The Shining also received raspberries and or Razzie Awards, and it's now also right there at the top. So it's amazing what time will do for you. But that part that I was talking about when they're exploring the ship, that to me is very reminiscent of the scene in The Thing is reminiscent of that when they're at the Norwegian camp, just sort of walking around and taking in what went there. I think I always tie those two scenes together in my mind.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So there was a lot of space stuff going on, which of course you can tie back to the success of Star Wars, like you said.
It's funny because, like, even the approach to the whole thing, the whole space thing really plays into it. Like, even the way the characters are, like they get, like, a sense of their own isolation, and you could see that they're not actually, funny, it's going to come in a cohesive team in the beginning. Like, they all have, like, very cold relationships to each other, and that is almost, like, indicative of, like, what you sort of become when you're in space long enough. Like, you get this feeling of isolation, and it kind of makes you cold. And
they were sleeping for that long too, though. They were in that fucking hyperspace.
How long were they sleeping in hyperspace?
Dude, I've been thinking about that. No, I don't know. It had to have been a while, and it had to like shit like that though. That's what I was talking about, like building the world, stuff like that. Like creeps me out. Like, dude, really? Like, you're gonna go to sleep for like years? Like, bugs me out. So,
well,
like,
if you stay young looking, I would do it, I guess. If I'm not going to do anything else.
right, but isn't that kind of like a creepy concept to think about in a movie? Like, oh wow, like,
Oh, yeah.
can you imagine fucking life like that? And then, like you said, being in a spaceship, dude, Alien nailed the whole alone in space thing. Like, you feel so claustrophobic at times.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
there's no way you can go. You're stuck on this fucking ship with this alien. You're probably gonna die.
Which also became a common trope that people like to use, and effectively, in things like Leviathan or Deep Star Six, where they went, or The Abyss, where they went, the opposite of space and went down into the ocean, but they still use that same claustrophobia,
The Descent.
and that, we're all tied together and we're mushed together in this little tiny space, and we're getting on each other's nerves, and which would happen after a while. Interestingly, Cameron, who went on to do Aliens, also did Leviathan. I mean, not Leviathan. No, he didn't. He also did The Abyss. So he
Yes, he
basically took those concepts and worked them into The Abyss.
He ran with it.
One of the few films of his I really enjoy.
And now he's making Avatar 12.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. These people, the actors really got to sort of live out their character because they felt even more isolation because Ridley Scott was the kind of director, and you can't fault him for this. He put far more focus into the set design, the atmosphere of the movie, and all that kind of stuff, and the shots than he did with the actors themselves. He almost didn't talk to them all that much. Like they felt an even bigger sense of like the whole abandonment or isolation because he really put no attention, and that actually played some bad parts because a lot of things were like that chick bitching about everything. Some things were kind of messed up. Like there was no oxygen going into those spacesuits they were wearing, and they would get all fogged up, and like there was so many problems. They had to actually redo them because he didn't put too much care into how actors felt or how this affects them or anything like that. So some of her griping was actually pretty legitimate, but it's weird. Like he didn't care about actors all that much.
I got a question though, and we've kind of talked about this before with like, how like certain Jasons won't talk to their, the camp counselors and all that kind of stuff. But like, are you guys a fan of that kind of, no, I wouldn't call it method
Like method directing or something?
Yeah, all that kind of
I
stuff.
am.
Like Tarantino does that shit. Like just fucking get right into it, because in reality, like, if you do think about it, like, yeah, it's fun to make movies, but you really are trying to fucking create something real and bring something to screen here. So, yeah, you might have to go through some fucking shit, go through some hell, actually, but it's probably better off in the end for the movie.
Well, think about it this way. We've got some of the best films that we have, particularly within the horror genre, but just overall, are made with those tactics. I mean, look at Friedkin with The Exorcist. He was a fucking tyrant, and he... Hitchcock, way back to Hitchcock, he treated actors like cattle. If you have Kubrick, who is one of the greatest filmmakers of all time as far as putting a film together, whether or not you enjoy his films, like, honestly, I think there are some amazing things about 2001. It is a gorgeous film. It's extremely artistic. I love the way that man puts together a shot, but I can't watch that movie in one sitting.
No.
I can't do it. It bores the crap out of me.
Nope.
But, then look at The Shining. I mean, we all know what Shelley Duvall went through making The Shining. So in some respects, you can say, yeah, for the art itself, this is necessary. And as an actor, if you want to go all in, you have to be willing to go through what the director puts you through. Now, there are a lot of people who don't agree with that, but I mean, you can say in the end, what matters is the final piece, is the art piece. And I think some of the best directors we've had are the ones who have that vision. I mean, you don't have to be an asshole, but But just look at it when they are. Look at the end result that you get. It's kind of worth it.
Yeah, look at me. I'm doing it now. I'm method podcasting. like
Exactly, dude.
I literally like Alien is my life right now. Like in preparation for this, I watched all 4 Aliens in almost one sitting. I've watched this movie 4 times. I watched it like as soon as I woke up this morning. I watched it again, and right before the show, like I literally turned it off and came here.
Well, and not only that, dude, we took you from the dungeon from Jersey, took you to Cape Canaveral, shot you into space. I mean,
Right, and
shit.
I was sleeping in hyperspace just to sleep like the way those guys did, and now we're on LV 426. So, I mean, we're method podcasting. So yeah, I will say I agree.
Exactly.
Now, let's not forget that Jerry Goldsmith did the score for Alien, and there were issues there too, because there was this big battle because they buy these things called temporary like tracks or whatever, and they pop them into scenes for the time being for whatever reason. And then Jerry Goldsmith basically watches the scenes and then writes music to it. And they didn't really like a lot of the stuff that he wrote for this movie. They just felt that he sort of didn't understand some things. Some of the music was too intrusive to the scenes. So they actually preferred a few of those temporary things he did.
Ooh.
And he hated them. Like, he felt, I wrote this amazing thing for when the people wake up from the incubators or when they're in their hypersleep, and they use this from something called Freud. I don't know if it was a movie or something, but he made this music for Freud, and they bought a lot of the Freud tracks and put them in different spots of this movie, and he did not want it. So,
Well, they have artistic vision, just like directors do. Composers are often unsung heroes because, honestly, without a good score, that can sink a film.
Yep.
You know, and we talk about that a lot on this show alone. The Jerry Goldsmith is, I mean, to be honest, if I had the luxury of hiring Goldsmith to do a score for my film, I would just be like, do whatever you want, dude, because he is fucking
Take
master.
my soul.
Who, incidentally, he also did the score for Leviathan. So
Oh, well.
when they made Leviathan, they took the same, like I was talking about the claustrophobia aspects, just basically plucking it out of the sky and putting it in the ocean. They also used Jerry Goldsmith to score it, so it kind of gives it even more of that same tone. I think, honestly, Leviathan is like a really good hybrid of Alien and The Thing. If you watch that film with those two films in mind, you can. It's really fun to do. But anyway, yeah, his score for this film, I think, is one of the reasons that it comes across as, for lack of a better term, I mean, does it make sense if I say this film is classy? Does that?
It makes perfect sense to me, yeah.
yeah, it's not Roger Corman, it's A-list, and that's why. And Jerry Goldsmith is a major reason. You know, like, that's top-rated shit. It's not like, I don't want to put anybody down, but yeah, it's whatever. But this movie, not only does the music make or break a movie, but the editing does. And when this movie, the first cut was 3 hours and 12 minutes.
Ridley Scott, he's off the chain, dude. He's a freaking 8-hour movie.
Yeah, and the guy Ron Shusett, he said, look, I don't want this movie to be pretentious, dude. You gotta shorten it, man. And then supposedly Ridley Scott always knew it would be cut down, but he just needed that. He needed the big, almost like a big piece of clay to work with, I guess. You know, so he wanted to shoot all this stuff, and man, when he was shooting it, he constantly was trying to build more sets, more. Like even the scene where Dallas gets captured. Ridley Scott wasn't crazy about that. He had to improvise. He didn't like that whole. The area they were in, I guess it was the third corridor thing. Like, he didn't like the way it looked and stuff. But with time and money, they wouldn't let him build another set. And they actually, the executive people, you know, who were doing the studio, whoever owned it, Fox, I guess, they were walking around stopping production on new sets that he wanted built. And
They're like, dude, just stop.
Yeah, dude, stop. Do not build another set.
I need the shot.
Yeah, right. Like literally, that whole that they did not want him to build the entire where the space jockey is, the inside of the alien spaceship. They said, we're not doing it. Just have some black walls behind, whatever. Like they just wanted some generic nothing, because they said, dude, you're shooting one scene here. It doesn't need to. We don't need to put $200,000 into the set of one scene. And he said, no, you do. If you don't, this is not going to be the same movie. And he's right. Look, did you not marvel at the inside of that alien craft?
I can see it from both ends, though. I mean, as a studio, that's your money. So it's like you're dealing with a whole different aspect. But on the director's side, dude, that's the best. We're still building sets. Like, that's great, dude. You gotta love that, man. That's why he's one of the best directors out there, dude. That's why Ridley Scott is the man. It's because directors like that give a shit, dude. Like people like George Miller coming back for Mad Max. Like they give a shit about these properties, dude. Everything,
right.
Fury Road, holy crap, that movie is, oh God. Yeah, it wouldn't be the same. And like I just mentioned earlier how much I love that scene, and how much it the aesthetics of that scene add to the entire experience. I mean, I can't even imagine if he had agreed to go with what the studio wanted.
Right.
That scene would be meaningless. It wouldn't, or, it probably wouldn't be meaningless, but it wouldn't have the same impact.
Right. No, It would not. It's just, it's pretty amazing. They even had the space jockey from that scene in front of the Chinese theater when they premiered this movie. Like that thing was there, and there were people trying to set it on fire and destroy it because they thought it was the devil's work. It was the work of the devil.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they were great. The whole theater thing, there's a lot of stories about that. Like, people were getting up and walking out of the theater, and you wouldn't even believe this. This is the craziest thing you're ever going to hear. There was a guy, a manager of a movie theater, and I think Dan O'Bannon, he went to go see it somewhere, and he went there, and I don't know how, or somebody went, and like the manager recognized him or something, and he said, oh, your movie, caused a lot of problems in my bathroom, a lot of messes and things like that, it just destroying his bathroom. And he goes, but I fixed it though. And he was like, well, what do you mean? How'd you fix it? And he goes, well, we cut the scene out of the movie, the chest burster scene. So people literally were getting up to throw up in the bathroom so much that they were missing the toilet all the time. It was going on the fucking floor, on the seats, everything. That often, because of the chest burster scene. So the movie theater actually cut that scene from the showing so that this would not take place in their bathrooms anymore. Can you imagine that?
No.
Can you imagine how pissed I would be?
Oh my God.
You just fucking ruined my movie, you dick.
Yeah, right? That was the scene.
Yeah, right. Put buckets in the aisles. Like the response in the theater was so amazing that Dan O'Bannon broke into tears when he saw like the response of the audience in the Chinese theater, because he had this horrible experience with this other movie he made called Dark Star. It was like the thing he did before he sort of became famous, and what happened with that movie was it was either going to be the greatest student film or the worst like official released movie, and they ended up pushing it to that, so it ended up being like the worst officially released movie and not the best student film ever made. So, and it was a space type thing, because like I said, he's into Alien obviously, and he's into Total Recall and things like that, so he's big on that. So yeah, so let's talk about real quick the guy, because this will come into this, the guy who played the alien in the suit. When I was going through my thing in preparation, because I wanted a full understanding of this franchise before I did this review, I watched all of them, and one thing I could tell you, I don't recall part 2 too much, but I could tell you, the guy's name who played the alien, the guy in the suit, his name is, it's like an African guy, so it's like Bolaji.
His name's...
Yeah. Bolaji Badejo, and he died recently. Or I don't know about recently, but I know he died. One thing I noticed is that they, God, guys, they go CGI, and you know what 1997 CGI looks like?
Sadly.
Or 92. Like, what was part 3? 92, and then 4 was 97. So yeah, man. You ever see the movie with Vanessa Williams and Arnold Schwarzenegger when they have like alligators going after them?
What's that movie called? What's that called?
It's Eraser.
Yeah, they should have erased the CGI.
I love that movie though, but those CGI alligators are terrible. But I still love that movie.
Yeah,
I can't help it.
It is a good movie. I do like, especially the end with the train. So let's talk about some of the cast in this movie. Tom Skerritt was Dallas. So this is Sigourney Weaver's first movie ever. And now...
Is it really?
Yeah, now she's worth $40 million, man. But this was her first movie, and believe it or not, the cast felt that she was such a... Like, she wasn't a strong actress at all, and they thought that would actually hurt the entire movie. And they could all tell they were doing something big when they were making this movie because of, it's kind of clear that this is not just shooting a movie in a room or a hallway or outside in the woods. This is like a major deal, So they knew that they were making a sort of classic with this movie, especially once they saw the chest bursting scene and things like that. And they felt that she would sort of ruin the movie and bring it down. So there was a little bit of a tension on set, so that actually played into it, because all this movie is like tension between like 6 people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I got a question. Do you guys think that role was because that Ripley character is notably probably, if not, it's got to be one of the first strong female characters, right? Especially like in any genre, right? Like she was the pretty much original badass, right? I mean, and I'm pretty sure that she's noted, for that. But I wonder if it was written as such a strong character that they didn't think she would match up to that, or maybe that just drove her and made the character what it was. You know what I mean?
Well, do you guys think she was a weak actress in this movie?
No, not at all.
No, I don't.
I'm not going to say I saw anything that was stand out, good or bad. Like, I thought she played the role well. And those scenes at the end, man, I mean, you're right there with her.
Oh,
that is the direction as well. But you have to be a strong actress to carry that shit. And, I was right there with her. And Sigourney Weaver has proven herself as a good actress over the years as well.
I think that by the way that she comes forward, particularly after we lose Dallas, she comes forward with this sense of authority. And I think at that moment, it's kind of clear that we're going to be with her for the long haul because she's the one who has everyone's best interest at heart. She's trying to do the best thing. And to me, that's also the moment when we find out exactly how good an actress she is. I think those moments where she's yelling at them and she's like, "Well, everybody just shut up for a minute," she is taking control. She's taking command of that scene and of everyone in it. It astounds me now that you say this was her first film. I didn't know that. Right? And I don't think that you would ever know that based on the fact that she just took it. I mean, she commanded, particularly that scene and scenes where she was in the role of authority. She nailed it.
Yeah. Well, remember she was talking to the android, and she was even like, "Well, why did you do that instead? I'm the ranking officer." She didn't say ranking officer, but she said something like that. Right, you know what I mean? Basically, like asserting herself, and yeah, like, but. Going back to what you said, though, Alex, I did know where it was going, but I totally picked up on all that stuff. Like, okay, yeah, it was, like you said, Jamie, in that scene, clearly she was the leader. And from that point on, she was, the final girl, whatever you want to call it. I mean, but it evolved so much more than that, though, especially in the sequels and stuff like that. Like, she became a badass about halfway through this movie. But up until that point, no. Like, who could guess? She's just another character. And then slowly they build that character. And by the end, it's it's like you're right there fucking with her. Right there.
Yeah. She pulls you in.
What I think is interesting is, but what I think is interesting is how she's the one who wants to follow protocol in the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
You know, she's the one like, no, you can't bring them back. No, they have to go in quarantine. No, you can't, you know, and they're like, you know. And
then by the end, she's like, let's blow this motherfucker up.
Yeah. They basically override her decisions when she is making the right call the whole time, you know, and she, from that moment, I think, all right, traditionally, females are considered to be the ones who have the emotional parts. Like, we are led by our emotions. We are the ones who are the caregivers, the nurturers, you know, the mothers, if you will, not being tied to the computer.
No pun intended.
We are the ones who are going to typically fall victim to being lenient when it comes to rules based on our emotions. You know what I mean? Like, it would typically be a woman who would say, right, he's hurt, we have to let them in, or he's, you know, in this instance, Ripley, being an authoritative figure, steps up and takes what is traditionally a man's point of view as far as these scenarios are concerned, in that, no, we have to follow the rules. No, we have to do it this way. Protocol is protocol for a reason. These rules are in place for a reason. And she's not leading with her heart, she's leading with her head. And she ends up being right, you know, but I think that is eminently fascinating, is that they completely take the traditional roles, the traditional gender roles, and kind of flip them, you know, where she is concerned in this film.
Yeah, like she's taking off her clothes there, and she's got a no sir t-shirt on.
Even when she is, if you look at her approach, she plays a very even keel. Like, when you're in that position, you can't be a person who's very reactionary emotionally. She actually plays it to a T. Even when she tells the guy to shut up, if you notice, she still maintains a professionalism and an even temper in a way. Like, she doesn't get overly emotional and things like that. You know what I mean?
Although she does go for the cat at the end, she goes for old Jonesy, which I agree with. I do agree with.
That's a what the fuck moment,
for that.
I can't fault her for that either.
No, damn it, it is not. That is exactly what any rational person would do in that situation. Right. And even though it's funny that you say that, because in Aliens, when she goes after Newt, I'm sitting here going, leave her.
Yeah, you are so screwed up.
And I'm dead serious. I was watching that movie the other night, dead serious, saying, fuck that kid. You've got, like, you can't put everyone's life on the line because you've got, like, 10 minutes. You know, you're not going to make it. Quit it. And when it comes to Jonesy, I'm like, you better get that fucking cat.
Yeah. I knew that Jones was Jamie's favorite cast member. I was going to actually name Jones. Is he the same 9 Lives cat?
No. No.
Well, here's the thing.
They clone him.
I'll say this about the cat. Now, the cat plays a major role for people who like to try to figure things out before they happen. You know how some people watch a movie and they take the ride, other people sort of know what's going to happen before it does, or where this is going. They think these things through. So one of the reasons the cat works for those types of people is because the cat is sort of a red herring in a way, because the way the cat acts, where the cat was, where the alien was, things like that, you almost don't know if the cat was impregnated with an alien. And I think that's what you're sort of supposed to wonder, especially when she brings the cat onto the ship with her. Like, you don't know if, like, this, like, you think it's over and all of a sudden the cat's gonna explode into a fucking alien, or, you know, like, that's one yeah, you know, like, that is one part the cat plays, because like the scene where, like, when she goes to get the cat, like you said, there's really no reason. The only reason that they sent the other guy to get the cat before was because it was messing up their radar, and they couldn't tell if the alien was walking around or the cat was walking around. So that's why. Other than that, what really, besides Jamie, the reason she'd go, besides that, like, why would this person go in the midst of the last thing on your mind is a cat? Like, you're trying to survive. Almost everybody's dead. Like, I don't even understand. It is a very bizarre scene.
Yeah, but I do like, I mean, see, that's the whole thing with taking this whole, trip out of space and stuff like that. I like the cat, man. The cat brings it home, You see the cat's, like you said, when the alien shows up, you see the cat's reaction to it. It's cool, man.
And that
is a nice angle.
That is such an amazing shot.
The close-up?
When what's going on in the background and you're focusing on the cat's reaction.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a simple thing. Right. And I don't think any other director in the world would have done that.
No. Or you would have, though. I think Jamie, the movie...
Well, yeah, my whole movie would be just a cat walking through. You'd hear screams off in the distance, but we'd be following the cat through the Nostromo.
What do you mean? I had 17 kills in my movie.
Yeah, watching him play with sticks and shit.
And yarn balls. And I think one of the implications that the cat was impregnated and will play a big part in the end is when the alien puts his face right up to it, and then obviously the cat lives. Like, the only other time and the alien did something like that was, and this is funny because if you watch them backwards, it would actually give you more implications that the cat has something going on evil, because when the alien, the insanely famous scene when her head's against the wall and this alien's right up to her face?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, he doesn't kill her, and there's a reason.
Right.
Looking back to this, it could have been the same reason he didn't kill the cat. Okay, I'll just say it that way.
True.
Okay?
Yeah.
So
that's it. Yeah, I honestly never thought about that, about the cat, but you're right. You're right on.
Because those are the only two people the alien went right up to and didn't kill. And, so it's pretty weird that way.
It's respect.
Yeah, damn it.
That's it. Yeah, he's like, oh, you're a cat. I can't fuck with you. That's what I take away from it anyway.
Right. He's like, damn, man.
I love that fucking cat.
What do you guys think of the alien's kill method? Every killer has their thing, a chainsaw, this, that, the other, butcher knife. This alien has this tongue death punch or whatever. Like, it's a tongue or something with a mouth at the end. Like, I'm not really even sure.
Like a mouth within a mouth?
Yeah, let's talk about the alien for a little bit. How do you guys feel? Like I said, it's a very big deal how this alien got on board. However, do you think they sort of sacrificed a lack of logic for an amazing introduction to the alien? So the alien... Okay, there's so many things to say. There's these eggs, and I think we're to believe, if you see part 2, that the queen basically drops these eggs everywhere, and then the eggs open, and a face hugger comes out and jumps onto the face of a host. I guess they just come out, walk around, and find a host eventually, jump on their face, impregnate their chest with an alien, and then die. That's the only function, seemingly, for a face hugger. And how odd is that? What kind of way is that to produce? I mean, I guess that's like a fertilization in a way, because normally you'd have an egg, then you'd have a sperm hit it, and that would create an embryo, or an Ethan embryo, as we know. So, now, here, you have an egg, but it already gives birth to something that grabs to a host? Like, it has to find... Do you think the cat would have made a good host?
And make a little tiny alien.
Would it make a better host than me?
There's also that theory, though, that they can't. Like,
it'd be a better host of a podcast. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, nothing. But that might be a theory, though, is they don't fuck with cats because they can't. They can't be a host in them, so they're just like, all right, well, we move on.
So it doesn't have what they need or what they're looking for.
Well, you gotta remember, you guys are referring to the xenomorph not fucking with the cat. We don't know if a face hugger would fuck with the cat.
That's true. Maybe they're just they're not dog people. I don't know.
Well, okay, so now that, would you guys agree that's sort of a strange reproduction way, right? I mean,
it is. It's a convoluted form of reproduction, but there are also many examples of similar things in the actual animal kingdom that we know. Things that all they do is their sole purpose is reproduction, and then they die. And there are examples of things that take a lot of steps. But it does seem like at any moment that reproductive cycle could be interrupted. It's like you said, if they come crawling out and they have to find a host, then if there are no hosts, then that reproductive cycle is stopped dead in its tracks.
Right.
And then what? You know? I mean, if the queen is just depositing thousands of eggs and there's nowhere for them to go, kind of like on LV-426 when she's laying all that huge nest and there are no more settlers, then what? You know, what's the point? Why are you still going, you know?
Yeah, and how about that, too? This guy, much like Peg Bundy, grew into his chair he was sitting in, the space jockey. And, yet, so that's telling you he's fossilized on that chair, for Christ's sake. And yet there's eggs that are still there and alive? And like, what do those things just sit there for eternity until it senses a life form around it or whatever? Then it leaps out at them and does their thing? Like,
maybe it hibernates. I
get, yeah, but for Jamie, fossilizing, the guy grew into his chair.
No, I agree. I think it's it seems like a really non-productive reproduction.
And like, where's the queen? Like, where's the queen alien that left all those eggs? Like, it begs so many questions. Like I said, that's why I'm glad they went and did like a Rogue One deal, you know? Like, I'd like to...
No, that's what I was just going to say, yeah. I'm sure all these questions will be answered in the next one.
Right.
Because it leads right into Alien, you know? But I don't know, but I would assume that they would explain everything. Because you're right, that's not the most effective way to reproduce, but at the same time, I'm sure there's an explanation for it somewhere.
Maybe.
Now, you don't have to have a womb. You don't even have to be a female to do this. Like, it could just do this in a man. All you have to do is have a chest. And that just seems strange. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how things work when you just need a host. I just don't understand.
Well, look at any parasite that we have. And there are some really fascinating parasites out there that just do some really weird, creepy shit. But they require specific environments and specific like very specific settings in order to continue their cycle. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, how did these things get as far as they did? But I think it's numbers, you know, like, so if you look at, it's like, well, this doesn't seem, if humans, for instance, had to reproduce this way, we'd be fucked. Like, we wouldn't make it. We wouldn't make it. We wouldn't be the top of the food chain. We wouldn't go anywhere. But because of their sheer numbers, it's kind of like insects in that respect, I guess, where it's like you have so many that some of them are going to survive. And it just kind of makes you wonder why. And I guess that's why they just get kind of, I don't know. I mean, there's so many questions about this. At the same time, like, I'm dying to know, but at the same, you know, because when I'm watching Alien, I've never once in my life been watching that film going, yeah, but all those eggs are sitting there and it makes no sense. You know, like, I don't care. You know, it just.
Oh, no, I don't care either. And I'm not going to care when I watch it again, but.
Oh, of course, yeah. But it, you know, if you start to actually pull it apart and think about it, then it's like, geez, you know.
Yeah, it is kind of tough. But here's the thing: we are pulling it apart because we have to. That's our job here. But let's face it, we still haven't come up with a definitive, like, we can't shoot it down yet. We don't really know. You know, it's like it's so cool.
It adds to it,
right.
Though. It adds mystery of the whole thing. It kind of makes it scarier.
Well, that's the whole in the future sci-fi thing too. You can take leaps with that, where it's like, okay, give them certain liberties, you know. As long as it's based in some sort of reality, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
And they're not humans. Those rules don't apply to them. Who, you know. And we're not even, like, discrediting this whole thing, because if you remember, the whole reason they wanted this organism and to take it and research and everything is because the guy said, Ash, when he was, you know, sort of headless, he said it was structurally perfect. You know, like if it's structurally perfect, then maybe it doesn't apply. The same rules don't apply. Like those eggs are, if they're structurally perfect, that means they could last for, you know,
Right.
God knows how, maybe 1,000 years. You know what I mean? So that's why thinking of these things and wondering these things is not really kind of ripping the movie apart or making it any less of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It adds to it, you know? I always wonder, how did they know so much about the aliens? Like when they wanted to take him, when Mother detected the life form and stuff, how did it know that it was unclouded by consciousness and remorse and morality, and it would just be like a ultimate weapon machine? Like, how would it know that? Because it was just a crashed spaceship. You know, they don't really know anything about it yet. Because obviously they don't, because they didn't research it before. Otherwise, they wouldn't need to do it again.
Right. Well, and then, yeah, I think they were just going off of what they saw, and what they saw, they knew it was definitely, I mean, what they didn't know, I'm sure they were like, well, let's definitely fucking get it so we can look into this, because they knew they had something there, you know?
Right. Yeah, because all they knew were eggs and the space jockey. Like, they really had no other...
They didn't know a lot going in. Let's face it, knowing what we know about the fucking xenomorphs, would you go after it initially with a net? They
right.
roll up to it with a net, dude. Like, what are you going to do with that, bro?
All right, well, here. This is what I was saying earlier about, were they compromising any logic for an amazing entry of the alien? Like, how are we going to get him on the spaceship? Awesome, chest burster, amazing. Okay, but wait. I'm sure everybody has wondered this. I'm not poking holes through this, and it's blatant in your face, so maybe there is an explanation I just don't know about. I mean, how much time goes by between the chest burst scene and when the first kill takes place, when the guy was looking for the cat and the cat sees the kill? Because that alien went from, like, not even a foot tall to this gigantic monster within a day?
It is a very short period of time, and that's
not even a day.
That's another reason that this species is so strong, is because there is very little time of a growth period. You know, like animals in the wild. You know, a deer pops out of the womb and almost immediately can get up and run around. You know, it's a survival thing. Whereas humans, we are very weak in that respect. You know, we require constant care for
Shit's weak.
The first couple of years of our lives.
Yeah, but, I mean, with that kind of growth speed, one would imagine that the thing would be dead in a day or two. You know,
maybe
like
that's why there are so many eggs.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's sacrificing anything to get the alien on the ship, but let's just talk about that now. The chest buster scene, that is like one of the most famous, iconic moments in in film history. And it's funny because Ridley Scott wanted such a true reaction out of people when that happened. He didn't even tell them that first blood spurt was even going to happen. So you saw the reactions when that happened? Like, how genuine was that? That was just amazing, right?
Oh, dude, I love that whole fucking scene, dude. See, the way I love about Alien 2, man, is, like you said, there are different types of aliens, but they do different shit, dude. And what an introduction, dude. Like, okay, yeah, we're going to start off small, but, like, that's the most effective, I think. Well, then again, the xenomorph in its badassery is its own thing, but I love the contrast of having the big fucking larger than life, bigger than a human fucking size alien, and then you get the small ones that cause almost more damage. And if you're like a germaphobe, or you don't like fucking things crawling on you, like that's a lot worse, you know.
It's like the space herpy in Ice Pirates.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like I said, that chest buster scene happens 55 minutes into the movie.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that far in.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. It's a 2-hour-long movie, and they don't even get to the alien until fucking halfway through.
And you don't even mind. Everything is still so amazing. Like, even the face hugger, when they cut him and the blood drips and it's like acid. Like, it's always funny because I always wonder, like, what is going on in that thing's body that it could hold that blood?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, it's like so...
That's a good point, because it is organic. So how is its own blood not eating through its own organic material?
I don't know.
Unless it has glass veins.
That's what I was thinking. Like, it's glass inside. I guess that's all part of it being structurally perfect, you know? And they said it's a defense mechanism, and, it's just crazy. And speaking of things being inside, like we talked about the robot guy, Ash, having, like when he started sweating, the last, not since Jenna Jameson did I ever see somebody sweat jizz before. And I knew how it got inside of her, but no, nothing. Jamie's like, alrighty then.
No, I was actually picturing that in my head.
They had to pump her stomach because it was full. Nah, never mind.
That was Rod Stewart.
Why would he sweat anyway? Like what? I guess like the components overheated and then the blood just leaks out of him. Or I don't even know what he's sweating exactly, but
I'll tell you why, because they needed a way for her to realize that there was something not right about it.
But it didn't matter though, because even if he didn't sweat that way, it's sort of more for us, because even if he didn't, he still went and closed the door and then attacked her and stuff. Like, I don't think that sweat had any bearing on anything in that scene. I mean, the more thing about it was knocking his block off, which was amazing. Even the way it just falls back, the way it just comes out of nowhere.
I'll knock his block off.
Like, that whole thing was great.
Did you guys dig how they did the android thing in this movie? Because I really did like it. And that scene definitely drove it home. But it's weird, man. Seeing Prometheus, dude, I like Fassbender better. I like it. Like, I think they do the android story a lot better in...
I didn't see Prometheus.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Oh, they have an android in there?
I actually don't remember it. I've only seen it the one time when it was in the theater.
Yeah.
I just always wondered if you were going to make a synthetic human, would you make him sort of short and squat and old?
Right,
Like,
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, or would you make it Michael Fassbender? Right. That's a good point. Yep.
The reason he let this guy in the spaceship with the face huggers, because all he cared about was getting that thing in there, and that was his top priority. That's the whole point of it all. It's the company who's screwing everybody over. Everybody's expendable, and that's what it's all about.
I want to add on to that, though, real quick. And that's another thing where it ties in with the world building, setting up the rules of space and all this kind of stuff. Dude, I love how these people were just like everyday workers, yet they were fucking thrown into a situation where they were doing their thing in space. Like, okay, that's its own thing. And they're trying to at least follow protocol. They're talking about money, about shares, what they're bringing home, and how some people get more. And
yeah, they brought it real to life, right?
Yeah, dude, I that part felt so real to me that it was like these are not like action heroes,
Right.
I mean, that's for the second one. That's when fucking Bill Paxton comes in. But until then, like, these are just everyday workers, and they're thrown into these situations, hence fucking going after the alien with a net. Like, good luck, bro. But it's like, I just love that whole setup of, it's like, yeah, we set up these rules, but like, they aren't necessarily like, they're basically thrust into these roles, basically. And I love how it's done over the course of, like you said, it takes 2 hours, but like, and it's a very slow film at times. But I gotta tell you, man, like, when you get to the end, like, I want to see more,
It's never not interesting, and it's like everything, it's peppered with nothing but greatness in a way, like, it's weird, it's slow, but it's tasty. Because I'm just using the pepper analogy, but it's like, I mean, it's good the whole way. It's like really weird, and I don't know, it's not so, I don't know, I find everything eventful in some weird way, even though I'm not going to argue that it's a slow burn, I guess, but in some way I do. Like, even with this, I guess you could think of the robot thing as a climax, when he gives the guy a purple nurple, and he's like, that was so funny. Like, that's what he does to him to stop him from doing that. But I was thinking, like, do you guys know? Did I miss something? Why is Sigourney Weaver's nose bleeding during that scene? Like, because he didn't hit her yet. That was when he was sweating. Her nose was bleeding. Do you know why? Did I miss something there?
I honestly don't even remember, to be honest with you.
Okay. Well, it comes into play in part 4, and they use that and make it amazing. Like, there's a lot of callbacks. So, but getting to the technology, because we're talking about the robot and stuff, how funny was like the Atari graphics on the computers and stuff, like when they're trying to leave the planet that we are on right now, like in the movie. That, remember how it was like the drawings of mountains and everything, or no, when they were landing on it.
Dude, but see, that's the thing. Like, that's the kind of shit that I love, and I love when they bring back, like when they did that in the new Star Wars movie, when they using the fucking guns on the Millennium Falcon, and it's those fucking old school graphics they still use.
They have to, otherwise it wouldn't make sense. Isn't that weird with Star Wars? Like, all the outfits and everything and the technology, they have to keep it for the lineage of the original movies. That's so funny, because it's like, dude, what a brilliant... Well, only an idiot would say, no, we have to update it. We'll just say that these people have different stuff than the other ones did. It just wouldn't make sense.
Exactly. Dude, I love when they do stuff like that, though. That's why I was like early, late 70s, early 80s version of the future. That's like the best, dude. It's like, love it. Like you said, it's like playing fucking... Atari. Right. Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's right on, dude. I wish every movie was like that, to be honest.
Did you notice the weird cut when the Ash's head is off, and it's like the fake head, and it's almost like the same exact angle and everything, but then it's the live head?
Yeah.
Now, am I right in saying that's weird, at least?
No, it is, but at the same time, it's so, I think, well done that you kind of give it a pass.
Right.
You know? Because I do love when she's like trying to get the head to stand up, and it's like, it keeps flopping over, and she's like, I love the sound design during that scene, and it might seem like an odd thing.
Oh, his voice? Yeah.
For my ears to pick out, but yeah, that garbly voice of his, paired with the sound of the latex flopping around, or like hitting, like when she's positioning the head. I think just every bit of sound in that whole scene is perfect, and it's kind of sticks in my head. You know how and we've talked about this a lot before. I pick up on stupid little things, and stupid little things stick in my memory, and that's one of the things that have. So yeah, it is noticeable. I know what you're talking about, but at the same time, I just think that whole scene is so cool that I don't care.
Yeah, and then he has that shit-eating grin on his face right before.
Yeah.
But this guy looks like he just got out of a bukkake party. I mean, it's just like his whole fucking head. Like, it's like the funniest scene ever, dude. And he's just basically telling him, oh yeah, well, these things are, like I said earlier, they're perfect. They have no emotions, no remorse. They're just machines, and that's what we want, and blah, blah.
Anybody else? Anybody else finish? No?
Yeah. Anybody? Imagine if he just kept his mouth open for the next guy. But, yeah, so... Sigourney Weaver, then, like I said, they're going to wrap it up. She starts looking for the cat.
Yeah, and I'll add to that whole female heroine aspect. That isn't completely 100% prevalent until the sequel. This was building towards it, and this is a perfect setup for the sequel, which is why I love Aliens just as much as I love Alien. And she is very strong in this movie, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, in number 2, she's the action fucking hero. I mean, she's like Sarah Connor,
Oh, yeah. Well, actually, no, before we even kind of go to this, speaking of Ash real quick, how about the scene when she's talking to the mother to ask, now that she has more authority, and then all of a sudden, like, she goes in, closes the door, punches it in, and she finds out that they're there just for that, and everybody else is expendable, and this fucking guy's sitting right next to her. How did that happen? You don't hear the door open? You don't hear, like, what do you do? Like, oil up his hinges so he doesn't squeak on the way in? like how is he sitting next to her? And believe me, I'm not picking it apart. Ridley Scott did that on purpose. That was supposed to be a jump scare. But it's like, how? How did he get in? That's freaky. And even she jumped. Like, it's weird. Her reaction, she sort of jumps in a weird way, but it sort of is to manhandle him, to yell at him for what's going on. But initially, you think she's scared that he's there? I don't know. It's weird.
That's a good question, though. Yeah, I never thought about that. But yeah, how did he get in there?
He's just sitting there. Yeah, it's wild, man. And then that whole thing with Dallas, his capture scene, you know, I know we talked about the technical aspect of how Ridley Scott sort of wanted that to go down a different way, but how intense was that all they're looking at is blips on screens. She's like, it's getting closer to you. Go to another thing. He's getting close. You know, like, how wild is that, man? Like, you're in that little confined space, and all you know is that someone's screaming on the other end that a blip is getting closer to you. And you don't even know what it is. They don't know what the fuck this thing looks like at full growth.
Right. Yeah, they went after it with a net, dude. No, and that adds to that whole claustrophobic feel. And I think why Alien is considered one of the fucking best horror films ever. It's shit like that, dude. It's everything, yeah, but that's such a perfect example of setting something up like that. And like you said, not knowing, seeing it on a blip as on the screen, dude, and just hearing those screams, dude. Oh, I mean, to me, it doesn't get any better than that. And like Jamie said too, with the Texas Chainsaw too, it's like, you know, much like that movie. It's what you don't see. It's what you imagine with your mind. And those are the best types of movies, man. And you know, less is more. And especially when you get a great directed movie like this, less is definitely more in that aspect. I love it.
Oh, God.
And Jamie, I know you're not into the, you told me not to watch the director's cut. Now, there are two scenes, though, I that are worth it, because the one where the girl who bitches all the time, she like attacks Ripley when they come back, when she didn't want to let the guy into the spaceship. She smacks the shit out of her and stuff. And then the other scene is, you know, we talk about Dallas getting captured. Now, supposedly, you know, most people think that there's much more emotional weight and creepiness to Dallas's sort of death in the director's cut. Do you agree with that, at least?
Yeah, no, actually, the director's cut of this one is the one that I haven't seen. I've seen various scenes from it, but like where Ripley finds the bodies all cocooned and things like that. It's the Aliens director's cut that I recommend you stay away from.
Oh.
But this one, I've never watched everything put together. I've only seen the scenes,
right,
you know, outside the film.
Okay.
Is it like the Blade Runner's director's cut? Is it 14 hours long?
Yeah, how much longer is it when you watch the whole thing, dude?
Man, I wish I knew. I don't know. I think it's like 45 minutes or something extra. I don't know.
But I typically is when Ridley Scott, if it's anything like the Blade Runner's director's cut, then I won't like it as much, because I actually prefer the theatrical version of Blade Runner to the director's cut of Blade Runner. I prefer the theatrical cut of Aliens to the director's cut. Now, that's Cameron. It's not Ridley Scott, but
Well, our friends at Kill the Cast, Jerry and all those guys on my Married with Children show, he said, him and Kenneth both said that they will never watch the theatrical cut of Alien again. Because, I don't know, like once, like I guess there's no reason to, and all the stuff that they added they really love, so they prefer the director's cut of this movie, because they did this whole big show, Alien versus Thing, which was amazing. The way they broke those and they compared, you know, sort of like we did with House of Wax, like the way they put those two together, it really is awesome. Like all these tie-ins, and like you said, the one inspired the other, so you gotta check out that show. But yeah, so a lot of people do like that cut, the director cut, which I will watch next. So now, you know, everything goes to hell, people die, and now it's just Ripley and this alien, and it's strange because, you know, the last 20 minutes of the movie is no dialogue. It's just, you know, Ripley running around, escaping the alien. You got that awesome scene where the lights just keep flashing, and that's where you see the alien not kill the cat and stuff, and that's when you wonder what's going on with that cat, and that's when you're led to believe things at the end.
That light thing, though, I realized watching this again, why, and you realize how many movies fucking pull from Alien. How many horror movies, you know? And, like, they're considered tropes, but they weren't necessarily considered tropes back then. That was just doing it really well. Now it's like we take that stuff for granted, but damn, dude, the lighting in this movie, and then, like you said, when they're flickering like that, oh my God, forget it.
And it adds to the tension, man. Like, everything is perfect with this. Then, you know, we get to, you know, Ripley sets Ridley. Yeah, I wonder if I got the wrong name. Ripley sets the self-destruct button for the whole spaceship, which you think would be harder and you need more authority and approval to do, seeing as how they, grilled her in part 2. Like, you would think that it wouldn't be so easy for somebody to set that off, but yeah, it was. And so she goes, does it, thinking that she's going to blow up the whole spaceship, alien intact, everyone's dead anyway, there's no point, she can get to Earth with the escape pod thing. She doesn't care. So she goes in, and she's all happy, she's safe. So Sigourney Weaver has no ass.
Yeah, let's get to the
true. That is true.
Yeah, her legs go right up to her back. Let's face it. Why would you do that shot? Like, I'm just not understanding. Like, the guys saw her walking around in that underwear, obviously, while they were filming it. Like, who says, you know we got to get her to do? She should lean over the equipment. And
because nobody had asses back then. In 1979, it was all about being skinny and like super skinny. Nobody had asses.
Right.
That's a good point.
Yeah, thank God things changed that way, huh?
I mean, and don't you think that underwear, the cut of that underwear is so unflattering?
Yes.
Right.
I mean, it's just... But remember the girl from Friday 2 with...
Same thing. Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah.
Good point, Jamie. Oh, nice reference.
Even the same color almost.
Good point. I think Sigourney Weaver had the nipples to make up for no ass, though.
Yeah, her body is tight, man. That stomach, boy. Woo.
All I gotta say is it's cold in space.
And nobody can hear you scream, but everyone can see your nipples. Here's a really great use of music. The Jerry Goldsmith music, it just drops out when she's in that thing and she's doing stuff on that escape pod. It just creates so much tension. You just know something bad's gonna happen, and it's funny, like, these guys know how to use music and how to not use music. It's like they just can't do wrong. Now here's the big question. So this alien puts his hand out, shows that it's on the ship. Why do you think the alien doesn't just go up to her and give her the tongue death punch? Like, why does it not attack her in any way, shape, or form? Did I miss something? Did she injure it or something and it was sort of hurt and that's why it was hiding up in the corner?
I have no idea. I know she got it with the pipes earlier.
Well, I always wonder, was he sleeping? Because you kind of get the impression that he didn't realize she was even there. So it's like, because he's all curled up and... just like, la, la, la. And like, is he... and it seems like an odd time to take a nap. Considering everything that's been going on. Like, he's been through a lot recently, yeah, but...
Hey, alien, wake up.
Don't you think it's an odd situation in which to curl up and take a nap? I don't know what the...
Yeah, dude.
I don't, unless he's like, she's going to be coming in here, I'm going to hide and wait for her, and then he falls asleep. Is he asleep? I was thinking about that the other night, and I'm not quite sure about that scene.
I know. Maybe he's just old and he needs a nap. You guys talked about his growth process being so quickly. Maybe he's just really old and he needs a nap.
Yeah, he's like a 97-year-old at this point.
Exactly. He's living in the nursing home, bro. He's ready to fucking retire.
Now, everybody complains that you don't get to see the alien. Now, I feel like you saw exactly the right amount of alien. I know I sound like a typical, defender of the movie or whatever, but I'm not even saying it that way. I really believe you see plenty of the alien. I mean, I think it's kept in the shadows the right way the whole other time. You see pretty good close-ups of the face the whole time. You get body shots here and there. And then this whole ending, I mean, you couldn't see any more of them if you wanted to.
Yeah, and we've seen too much Alien, fucking AVP Requiem, and too much Alien is definitely not a good thing. You've seen when the aliens go totally CGI, and it's done by fucking people that don't really know what they're doing, and that's what makes these movies even greater too, because of those shitty sequels. You realize, oh, okay, yeah, you could go this route with the story, whole battle fucking thing, and yeah, it's cool to think of. Maybe it's cool for a comic book, but those movies are fucking trash, dude. Like, when you keep the alien in its its comfort zone, so to speak, up in the fucking rafters taking a nap. When you keep them up there and in the dark and in the
That's more
horror
creepy,
setting,
isn't it?
It's so creepy, dude.
Isn't it more scary that you sort of get glimpses in while he's in that thing and you don't see his whole body, like, exactly? Like, that makes it way better.
Yep. It's big. That's all you really need.
Right. Yeah. So, now how do you guys feel about the whole climactic ending? There's no battle. She doesn't shoot at him, dive behind this, shoot at him, dive behind that. He claws her, nothing like that. It's just her getting into a spacesuit, and then it's sort of it's right in front of her, and then she hits a button, opens the thing, he gets sucked out, she stays in because she did, she hooked herself up to something. Then he gets blasted away or what?
Falls into one of the rockets or something, and she hits the fucking button, and that fucking blows even more. But the thing about that whole scene, though, and I agree, it's not like a battle back and forth, but the tension in that scene, how she slips into that suit and she does it,
and she's singing that song.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. All that stuff, dude. Oh my God, that's like the best ending, because that just shows how much of a badass she is. She's keeping her cool. She's thinking with her head. She knows what she has to do to get that fucker out of there, because she knows, dude, she can't go against this thing fucking hand-to-hand combat. I mean, what?
Well, she didn't have to. What do you think? What about that aspect? That if the thing didn't even present the idea, like, it didn't create a climactic battle. Did it make it less of an ending? Like, do you feel this is a climactic, huge, great ending? Was it satisfying in that way?
It was satisfying enough. It maybe could have been better, but that's the thing. It's like you could go in many different directions with that, and I like that aspect. Like I said, she was fucking cool about it, and she knew how to get him out. She knew she couldn't win that way, so that's how she beat it. She fucking sucked it out of the thing and fucking blasted it in space. I mean, and the thing is with these movies, dude, I mean, like you said, you got so many different options of how to fucking do an alien movie, and I thought that this ending fit perfectly with what the movie is.
I agree. I think that the ending that we got fits the tone of the rest of the film very well, and I don't think it required anything more.
It would have been almost over the top and like way too much if they did anything else, you think?
I'm glad you said that though, bro, because look at the ending to the next movie, Aliens, and that totally fits that movie too, but you take that ending and throw it into because that's the action, quote unquote, action ending that you would want to see, and that's satisfying on all levels too. Fucking, when that big fucking machine, dude. I mean, it's the complete contrast to what this is, but I think that's what makes this movie a horror movie and builds suspense and does all those things. And Aliens does as well, but it's more action oriented, more fucking shoot 'em up at the end, more not shoot 'em up, I'm sorry. She fucking grabs him with the fucking claw thing or whatever. And
well, there is a lot of shoot 'em up.
There is a lot of shoot 'em up, that too. But just in terms of like how they end it, I think both endings fit each movie perfectly, dude. Like it's like a little cherry on top on each of the movies.
But I guess the extended ending here is what is the real thing.
Like, you think it's over, but it's still inside. That's really that's the capitalization or whatever on everything.
Enough. I thought that was enough, and then how she did kill it. I thought all of that. Yeah, I didn't think it was really missing anything. No. Okay. And especially with Aliens being what Aliens is and delivering on a lot of those other aspects that you didn't necessarily get in this movie. It's such a great companion piece to it that no problems. And I'd say maybe if Aliens wasn't made, then maybe it could be, it's kind of a missed opportunity, man. I wish they would have done this. I wish they would have done that, blah, blah, blah.
But since you have Aliens, you're good, yeah.
That's it, man.
Game over!
Game over, man.
Okay, so any overall wrap-up thoughts before we rate this? I guess we gave every thought, right?
Pretty much, man. Overall, like, this movie was so fucking dope, dude. And I remember seeing it as a kid, dude, and I totally got it. I got why there was, like, this legendary fucking aura around this movie. Right. And how it was so good. And that was one of my first tastes of, like, hearing things about a movie and then being like, well, I gotta see this for myself, because you know what I mean? Because like I never really heard that much hype of a movie before.
Oh man!
And then having it pay off though was like, oh, I get it now. And having that realization, that was big big for me. This was probably the first movie that ever did that for me. So it's like special in my own heart, where it's like, yeah, it totally lived up to that. And like Jamie said, it's on so many lists, dude. Fucking Alien is one of the fucking top movies of all fucking time, dude. You cannot fuck with this movie.
Remember how I thought it was going to be so boring?
Yeah, aren't you glad you watched it?
How dumb am I, huh? God, everyone's like, what? Boring? Why does that look boring to you? But yeah, I'm an idiot. What can I say? So now I get to live the rest of my life with this in my life, even though it came out the same year I was born, so figuratively I could have had it this whole time. But oh well. What are you going to do? So rating. Jamie, how do you rate Alien 1979?
It's a 5.
5 out of 5.
No question. It's we just had our this past Halloween. We did our best Halloween ever, where we pretty much took turns picking the very best in horror and watching one a night. And this one was one of the early ones that we did. It was, you think of the best in horror, and this immediately flies out of the brain. It's right there.
Absolutely. You know, it really is, and it's amazing that this is so good that it even inspired more of the best with The Thing. So that's amazing. When you're the best and it can inspire more best. Dan, how do you rate this officially?
Oh man, 4.5. I fucking love it, dude. I love this movie, and like I said, this movie's so like ingrained in the culture, and for good reason. And I also look at this, it's funny that you said Halloween movies too, because this is one of those bumper movies, getting people into horror. You know, what's a good movie that you would give me that's fucking really scary, and yet at the same time, you don't want to throw them like a piece of shit either. You want to throw them the best of the best. Kick Alien their way, dude, and you know,
you're pretty safe with that.
Yeah, people come in with such like weird things like, oh, is that just a sci-fi movie? Or, well, I heard it's a lot of different things, but overall, that's just a damn good fucking movie, dude. So yeah, 4.5. How about you?
Same thing, 4.5. It's amazing. I love it. It just keeps getting better. Like, I've engulfed myself in this movie for this review, and I gotta tell you, I love it way more now. I really, really liked it when I first saw it. And again, and then again, and the more I keep seeing it, man, it's like one of those things where you notice things in it before, you get to experience the atmosphere, like that amazing inside of the spaceship, again and again. You get to really look around, and I love it. And then I'm getting more in tune with what's happening, what they're saying. Oh, this is what they meant by that. Oh, that's what they were referring to. Oh, you know, like this is a movie that you benefit from by watching it over and over again. So I'm at the peak of me loving this movie.
Well, Alex, I want, dude, I would strongly suggest, out of everything you just said too, go see Prometheus, so then you can see the new one too, because that, I mean, this is the thing about this franchise too. Alien and Aliens have always been the best of the best, yes. But over time, dude, with the sequels, with the Alien vs. Predator movies, yes, they made 2 of them. My enthusiasm and a lot of people's has been completely fucking slighted because of those movies. So it's like, all right, I'm not really into it. But Ridley Scott coming back, you know, doing Prometheus, and we're right back into that sweet spot, so to speak.
Good.
So like now is such a great time to be reintroduced to this franchise. So that's why I'm happy we're covering these movies. And yeah, man, I can't wait to see the new one.
Me too. So yep, that's our ratings, guy. 5, 4.5, 4.5. Great flick. Great time doing this. So glad we did it finally. You know, so yeah, guys, it's Alien Day. We hope you liked this show. We love the movie, and we recommend you watch Aliens as well. I saw 3 and 4 recently, like I said, and I think you should watch them. I think they were good. They're solid. I don't think there's a bad one in the bunch, really. I mean, they're not anywhere epic like the first 2, but I don't think you should think they are. So you'll have a fun time. You know, it has a pretty good cast and stuff like that too. Yeah, so then, you could skip Alien vs. Predator movies if you want or whatever, and then watch Prometheus, which I'm going to do right after we land back on Earth. Because I don't think they have it over here at LV426, so they don't have Prometheus. I checked the video store.
They got fucking, they got Pong.
Yeah, they have Pong, because everything's Atari over here. Next show, Aliens. Not Alien Part 2, not Alien 2, but Aliens.